Welcome to GamerStation's Browser Games of the Week for the week of March 12th. And I'm your host, as always, Steven Snakeykin Lindsay. At number 10 this week is Omega Box. You are test subject 117. Your goal? Survive as long as you can. Yep, it's one of those games, but this one has some upgrades that you can get. As you continue to play, you'll get medals, which can be exchanged for upgrades like being able to go faster, having an atomic blast, etc. It's not the most complex game, and there's not much to point out that others haven't done before, but it does it well enough to get on our list. Number 9, Hambo. Nobody messes with Hambo, or his pals. After the police have taken Rambo's pal Bacon, he's out for revenge to free the Bacon. And so, a game involving the usual knock-off, end, or kill everything you see on screen in a set number of uses is born. At the beginning of each level, you'll be given a set amount of uses for items like a bow and arrow with explosives, a pistol, C4, etc. Depending on the level, you can freely change to one of those items that best fits the situation. And remember, it's all about the low scores. Number 8, Modern Tactics 4. The tactics are quite questionable in this game, but at least it's fun. You're in charge of a small squad of soldiers who are tasked with, more often than not, killing anyone who isn't on your side. Sure, maybe there's some other task, but mainly you'll just be shooting anybody you see. Gameplay is turn-based and is played out on a grid. Before each stage, you can change the looks of your characters and their loadout. Their loadout being based upon what weapons you've procured in a certain level and how many are available to you as well. Strategy is very limited, as all you need to do is make sure that you are in a good position to kill the tangos and that you aren't within firing range when their turn comes. If they even decide to shoot at you, which sometimes they don't. It would have been a nice addition if these characters could fire back if an enemy got in their firing range, or at least something to put some more emphasis on tactics. Number 7, Notebook Combat 2. Ever imagine there being a shmup on your notebook? Well, there was the first game, but if you didn't get to play it, then this'll be new to you. The shooting section is what you expect from these type of games. Shoot all enemy planes, avoid their bullets, and maybe go against the boss at the end of the level. After each level, you can buy upgrades and or a new plane with the money you obtain in the level. And yes, like all other shmups, I'm not great at this game. Number 6, another Cave Runner. If you mix an RPG with a runner game, you would get another Cave Runner. You are some knight who is running through a cave of some sorts filled with ghosts, spikes, bridges that collapse easily under your feet, and, of course, giant boulders. As you kill the enemies, your character will eventually level up, which will eventually give you skills that will help you get through the cave a little easier. I guess it's sorta like Dead Rising in that sense. Also, there's both a story and an endless survival mode called Basic Mode. We're halfway through our list, and that means it's time for our classic browser game of the week pick. And our pick for this week is The Company of Myself. Now, some point in our time, we probably felt that we were alone and or that we should only rely on ourselves. In The Company of Myself, you are a hermit who, once upon a time, was in love, and helping out each other was mutual, till she was no longer there, probably dead. Now there's only himself to depend on, and that's what you shall do for the most part of the game. You can create copies of yourself to help you out. Sometimes you just need someone's head to jump on top of, other times you need them to go through a barrier that you can't. In a way, it's sorta similar to the misadventures of PB Winterbottom. Starting back on our list at number 5, Charlie Sheen Winning. Ah yes, we know about Charlie Sheen and all of that. And as the way of online games, as soon as something happens, a game will pop up making fun of and or parodying the matter. You control Charlie, who's on his last bender and driving around town. Your goal is simple. Run over all the people and animals that you see but avoid those obstacles, including vehicles. In the end, the game just comes down to being able to get a high score as high as you can, and I can be alright with that. Number 4, The Man with the Invisible Trousers.
We're a team of 5 detectives. We fight crime. But Johnny's dead, so I guess we're 4 detectives. Johnny spent his life in a single room, so it must have been an inside job.
Yep, that pretty much sums up the story of the game. Weirdly enough though, this isn't a point-and-click adventure game. No, it's a puzzle platformer. Not that I'm really complaining about that. Anyways, as your character has some magical trousers that make his lower half invisible, this also apparently gives him the ability to walk on walls and ceilings if there's a circular path nearby. Early on it's easy, but later on it'll become more and more challenging. And you just might find out who the killer is by the end of the game. I didn't finish it, so I really don't know. Anyways, I'm betting on the guy killing himself. Who's with me? Number 3, The Sagittarian 2. It wasn't that long ago that we told you about The Sagittarian, which was a so-called choose-your-own-adventure game set in a zombie apocalypse, which I admitted it felt more of a trial-and-error game than a choose-your-own-adventure game. Now that the sequel is here, I can say that that has changed slightly. There are 3 different endings that you can get, and there are more branches in it, but there's still a lot of times where it feels like a trial-and-error game. As an example, there's a time you can check a truck out. If you check below it, you get bit by a zombie in the cab. Try to look in the cab, you get bit by one under the truck. Try to get some gasoline from it, well, nothing happens as those zombies now never existed. It's still a good game, but still could use some work to be a fun and interesting choose-your-own-adventure game. Number 2, Shell Shock Live version 1.0. I'm not the biggest person involving multiplayer online games, but I do like some. Just usually not the MMORPG related ones, but I'm sort of getting into those as of late. This one is a turn-based online battle involving tanks, which is very similar to another game I have never played before. Battles typically break down like this. You, or someone on your team, has a turn. You must select the type of ammo you want to use because you have limited amount of ammo. Select the power and angle of your shot, then fire. Then it's your enemy's turn to do the exact same thing and repeats back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until after a set number of turns. Then the game ends and those with the most amount of points wins. It's simple but fun at the same time, especially if you beat somebody online. Also, it does require some thinking, especially when there's wind to take into account. On the downside though, sometimes you won't get any new ammo for your side and the enemy will get all of the good stuff while you're stuck with some crappy ammo that you started off with, just waiting for a drop any day now. And of course you lose because you didn't get any of that stuff. And our number 1 pick for this week is Cactus McCoy. This is the tale of Cactus McCoy, a man who was sent to find a rare artifact, but unknown to him, there's a curse on it that turns anyone that has it into a cactus, and then into stone. And so an adventure across 12 different lands begins, in which you gotta return the stone to its original location. The game plays out as an action-adventure platformer, and at the end of each stage you can upgrade some of your abilities, such as punching, swinging, or whipping strength. The game offers several things to find and unlock, and supposedly it offers over 10 hours of gameplay into this little package. I haven't played it all the way through, so I cannot attest to that at all. And that's been this week's Browser Games of the Week list. Now if you don't know, each and every week we have a new video in this series. Also on Wednesdays we have our GS Indie Game News, which is where we tell you about some of the latest news in the indie gaming world. So subscribe to us to be up to date on these videos, as well as our occasional previews, reviews, giveaways, tutorials, and whatever else we decide to do.